Hi apes, this is part 2 energy flow of the summer assignment screencasts, and this really should be all review from bio, so I'm going to go through it quickly. Here we have the two equations for photosynthesis and respiration, just the exact opposite of each other. Make sure that you know these. Green plants and algae use photosynthesis, and it provides oxygen and absorbs carbon dioxide. Cellular respiration is what humans do and animals. We break down that glucose and then we release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Your producers can be anything from large trees to algae, also known as autotrophs. They're the base of every single food chain. They mostly get their energy from the sun. However, hydrothermal vent communities down in the deep sea use chemosynthetic bacteria to derive their energy. So instead of using the sun, they use hydrogen sulfide as their energy to actually start off the food chain down there. We'll watch a video clip of that in class. Primary production is your first step, and what you have is producers that fix this energy. So they fix the energy in the sun and they turn it into glucose molecules. And your gross primary production is the total energy fixed. And then you have your net primary production. That's the gross primary production minus the energy required by the plant for respiration. So this is the amount that's available to the next trophic level. If you think about it, getting paid under the table or legally, if you make $10 an hour and you work for 10 hours, you make $100. So if you're not getting taxes out, you're making $100. That's pretty awesome. That's your gross number. However, if you're getting paid and taxes are being taken out, $10 an hour, 10 hours, $100, but then you have the taxes. So that's your basically energy required, and what you end up with is your net amount of money that you make. So you're really making, let's say, about $80 when technically you did make $100. $100 is your gross, $80 is your net. So we can measure plant productivity a bunch of different ways. Light intensity, temperature, nutrient availability, water availability, mineral and nutrient supply are all things that can make a plant grow faster or slower. So productivity is the amount of biomass, the amount of energy a plant can fix in it for transfer to the next trophic level. Most productive ecosystems have high temperatures and plenty of water and a lot of soil nutrients. If you look over here, it gives you a couple different ways to actually measure plant productivity. We won't be doing any of these in class, but just know there are different ways to measure plant productivity. So you can see here, these are the most productive ecosystems. You have tropical rainforests, swamps and marshes, and estuaries. And with that, there should be coral reefs are some of the most productive ecosystems in the world. Tropical rainforests are very diverse, as well as coral reefs are very diverse. And then we have swamps and marshes and estuaries. They're not very diverse, but they are super productive ecosystems. And then we have the two least. You've got deserts, open oceans, and you also have temperate grasslands that are super low, as well as taiga and tundra, places like that. So we just talked about primary productivity, and now you have secondary production, which is the amount of biomass at the higher trophic levels. So the amount of chemical energy that's consumed and is converted into their own biomass to then go up to the next trophic level. And we have something called ecological efficiency. We call this the rule of 10% basically in ecology. So this is the amount of energy that goes from one trophic level to the next trophic level. So about 10% of the energy goes up to the next trophic level, about 90% of it is lost. So if we look at this caterpillar here, the plant material consumed by the caterpillar is about 200 joules. Okay, that's what we're using for energy here. So about 100 joules, or about half of it, is lost as feces. And then you have 33 joules that's used for growth. Okay, and then you have 67 that's used for cellular respiration. Okay, so this growth is the only part that will go on to the next trophic level. So when a bird eats this caterpillar, it's only about, we say about 10% that goes up to the next trophic level. Okay. So then we talk about energy flow diagrams. And energy flow goes in one direction, it goes up. And every place you have heat lost. So about 90% of the heat, of the energy going from one trophic level to the next is lost as heat energy. And then we have ecological pyramids. Like I said, all a review. So we have pyramids of numbers, and those are the number of individuals present at each trophic level. Then you have biomass, which is just the amount of dry weight or biomass at each trophic level. And then you have pyramid of energy, which is the energy in each trophic level. Usually they look like pyramids. Okay, so you can see the bottom is always the largest. You need to have a very large base, because if only 10% of that energy, numbers, individuals are going up to the next level, you need to have a very large base. Okay, so here are just a couple keywords. Our trophic levels, your first one, your plants, otherwise known as producers. Oh look, that's spelled wrong. And autotrophs. Your second trophic level are your consumers. Your most of your animals, they're called heterotrophs, or your herbivores. Your tertiary consumer, your tertiary trophic level, your quaternary trophic level, and then your pentiary, I don't know, trophic level. So then we have consumer levels. You have the producers are on the bottom, and then your second, third, fourth, and fifth trophic level for this specific one are all consumers. So your primary consumer is usually on the second trophic level. You will have to do things like this, and I always draw out these levels because it can be confusing with the 2 and the 1 and the 3 and the 2 and stuff like that. Okay, so if you see here, as you go up, you start with 1,000 kilograms, 10,000 kilograms, then 1,000, then 100, then 10, then 1. All you do is you lob off a 0 as you go along with those. Okay, so here's just another look at the pyramids of numbers. Okay, in some forest, a few producers, like very large trees, actually are the bottom of the food chain. So what you have is, when a pyramid of numbers, you have 200 super huge large trees that support 150,000 organisms on the first consumer level, versus a grassland, you have basically blades of grass. Pyramids of biomass. Okay, same thing here. Dry weight is usually used as the measure. That's your biomass, and you have basically your pyramid looking shape. And then you have your pyramid of energy. And your pyramid of energy can't be anything but, because energy is always lost in a system. Okay. So here's a look at a simple lake food web. You have different trophic levels, and the difference between a food chain and a food web is a food web has all different sorts of interrelationships, and your food chain is just one. So if we were to do a food chain here, you have your protists are eaten by your daphnia. This arrow means is eaten by. It points in the direction of energy flow. So the daphnia is eaten by a smelt, which is a small fish. That small fish is eaten by a trout. Small trout is eaten by the kingfisher. Okay, humans don't eat kingfishers, they're a type of bird. And last but not least, we come to bioaccumulation, which is a bit different than biomagnification. Accumulation is basically the accumulation of substances like pesticides or other chemicals in an organism. We accumulate toxins by breathing, eating, putting things on our skin, okay, breathing them in. And then your biomagnification is the magnification of these toxins as it goes up a food chain, okay, or a food web. So here you have DDT, okay, dimethyl trichloroethane, huge pesticide that is now banned, and you have it in the water. So the aquatic plants each absorb a certain amount. Then the plant-eating fish have a certain amount. Then the large carnivorous fish, they keep consuming more and more. Because if you think about it, every single one of these guys, okay, your big fish-eating bird, has to eat 10 of these. Every one of these has to eat 10 of these. Every one of these has to eat 10 of these, and it magnifies because DDT is fat soluble, not water soluble, so it actually retains in the body, in the fatty tissues of the body. Okay, so higher order consumers are at greater risk because they eat a large number of lower order consumers. So if you went back to the image of the food pyramid that I had drawn, I'll go back. Okay. I can't go back, but you can see in this one you have one pelican here. So this one pelican has eaten these two birds, these two fish. These two fish have eaten all of these fish. All of these fish have eaten all these zooplankton. All these zooplankton have eaten all these producers. So in essence, this one fish-eating bird has eaten all of these producers down here. Okay, so that's why this guy now has a lot of DDT in him. So here's another image that shows you this one osprey here has eaten basically all of these zooplankton that had DDT in them. And so now this bird has a lot of biomagnified toxins in it, DDT in this case.